This is To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning and welcome. COVID-19 front and center again, as always it seems, this year. This week, the struggle to reopen schools safely. Every parent and administrator all the way to Governor DeSantis talking about what a tough call it is.
I think it's important that parents have the ability to make a choice. If they're not comfortable, the last thing you want to do is shove people in if they're just not comfortable. We do have data to go on. We can say that, fortunately, our school children are at less risk.
The governor says he does worry about the academic gap if children stay out of school too long and have distance learning instead of in-person learning. An ongoing debate weighing COVID risk against education worries, and also the ongoing economic ones, the mask debate, the political divide. All of it, it seems, is our new normal for now. My guest today, Boca Raton area Democratic U.S. Congressman Ted Deutch. Congressman, on COVID-19, where are we? Where do we need to be, and how do we get there?
Well, we're in a really dangerous place right now. That's the challenge that we face. We cannot sustain this current increase in positive cases, hospitalizations, and most importantly, deaths. We can't do it. We've seen a 50% increase in all three of those just in a week. We've seen record numbers of deaths per day. We've seen that record set 3 times in just the past week and a half. We need to act right now if we're going to get this under control for the sake of the lives of our neighbors and friends and to keep our economy afloat.
Define acting. What do you want to see happen?
Well, first of all, there needs to be a mandatory mask order, and it needs to be statewide. And there is just no excuse any longer. I don't want to hear that asking someone to wear a mask is putting too much of an imposition on that person when over 100 people per day across the state of Florida are dying from this virus. So that's number one. We need to enforce all of the restrictions that are in place. That's critically important. And in the hot spots in Florida, like South Florida, the governor needs to act really boldly, or we will have no choice but to go back to some short-term stay-at-home order in order for our hospitals to get things under control, and so that we bring down the number of deaths and give our frontline workers a chance.
In fact, as you well know, your colleague in Congress, Donna Shalala, Congresswoman from Miami, has argued that we need another shutdown, another 14-day shutdown. Do you agree that that's the bold action we need? Do you support that move, sir?
Yeah, this is what's so frustrating about this whole debate. It's not a question of what I think we should do or what the governor thinks we should do. It's a question, and this has been the issue from the start, which is so upsetting. It's a question of what our public health experts say we should do. And when I talk to hospital administrators who tell me the crisis levels that they're reaching, when I had a hospital director just 2 days ago tell me that we are doing nothing to stop the spread of this contagion, then if they believe that shutting things down would help to get this under control and stop this explosion in cases and deaths, then let's listen to what they say, but not some random number of days and not open-ended. It's so hard for our businesses now. If we get to this point, then it ought to be limited, and the health experts should tell us how long, and we should follow the data. That's what we failed to do. That's why we're in this mess to begin with.
To be clear, the experts are telling you that they see that we do need another shutdown of some limited duration. Am I correct in reading that into your understanding of the situation from experts who you're talking to?
Listen, it's when we've been unable to get this under control, and public health experts tell me and tell anyone that the only thing that has worked thus far, when we saw numbers that were dramatically lower than this, was a stay-at-home order, then we may get there, but not until we've made sure that everyone is wearing a mask, that we're enforcing those rules. And if we're not doing it and that's not working, then we're going to have to do it short term. Here's why it's so important for our businesses. We saw an increase, a huge increase in unemployment claims this week compared to last week. And that's because as these cases explode and more people leave the workplace because they're sick, and more people refuse to go out into the economy because they're worried, the governor's inaction is actually putting our businesses at greater risk long term. A short term approach that actually brings this under control might be the most beneficial thing that we can do, as long as it's coupled by meaningful action to help the businesses and help their employees who are hurt by it.
Governor DeSantis has shown no inclination to shut down. Many Floridians who are hurting economically would agree with him and say we simply can't afford to shut down no matter what. We've got to plod on as best we can, do as much testing as we can, move forward. What do you say to those Floridians, sir?
I completely understand why they feel that way, and no one wants to get to the point where we have to do that. The challenge that we face is, we had a shutdown where we should have been preparing to prevent a moment like this from happening. We should have had a testing and tracing plan. We don't. We should have had a plan to anticipate the increases in hospitalizations. We don't. We should have been in a position to create a social isolation plan so that people who are infected can't infect others. We didn't. All of those failures have led to this point. But to all of the businesses and to all of the workers and people who are struggling, the answer to them is, yes, they're right. We hear them. And if we need to take action to save lives and help these businesses longer term, then Congress needs to step up and anticipate their needs, which is why it's a travesty that Senator Rubio and Senator Scott continue to refuse to bring up the HEROES Act, which will extend the critical benefits that those workers and the unemployed need.
I know that education is primarily a local responsibility, but you've heard the governor, you heard him say that children, generally speaking, are at lower risk. The Wall Street Journal argued that there's more of an educational risk to children staying at home than going back to school. We see in our 5 counties, Palm Beach County is going to delay the start of school a little bit longer, stay with virtual learning. The other counties are going to do a combination. You've heard the governor talk about positivity rates that may be skewed a bit because negative case rates aren't showing up as quickly. And all of that's creating an uncertainty and angst out there. What do you say to people who are pulled hither and yon, parents who are worried about how they're going to take care of the kids, get them taught, a governor and other voices who say we need to get back to school, worries about the accuracy of these test rates? You have people in this community scratching their heads, and then, of course, the issue becomes so polarized. How do we come to a middle ground of agreement here, given all of that, all that you're hearing?
Yeah, I think we have to actually pay attention. As I said, we have to pay attention to the experts, to the public health experts. Look, there is no denying a dramatic increase in hospitalizations. There is no denying a dramatic increase in the number of deaths. And there is no denying a dramatic increase in the number of positive cases. Whatever the percentage is, I don't want to make excuses for terrible facts. There are terrible facts. Yes, it's so hard to teach kids at home. There's so many reasons they need to be in school. But at the same time, we have to look out for them and their parents and the teachers and everyone else on school property and act in a way that doesn't make things worse. That's the challenge that we've got to face, and it can't be mandated. You can't have the governor pretend that nothing is wrong and insist on 5-day-a-week school. It should be left up to our local school districts to come up with a way to do it that recognizes the importance of having kids exposed to one another for educational purposes, and the need to keep them distant from one another, to keep them safe.
Congressman, I know that unemployment has been a primary concern and focus of yours, something that you wanted to talk about. We see benefits beginning to run out. Florida already at the state level has some of the lowest benefits in the nation. Federal benefits running out. Are we going to see a second stimulus package? What do you say to people hanging on, hoping there might be an extension of unemployment benefits? In our remaining minute and a half or two, try and give a sense to so many people watching and listening to you about where we are politically, economically, financially, and where we may be on the unemployment issue.
Yeah, it's well, first I'd say we get it. I mean, it is so hard. The damage that's been done to our economy, the pain, the real pain that people, economic pain that people are facing, is something that we can't ignore. We were all focused on it at the beginning. It hasn't gone away, which is why we passed the HEROES Act, which would extend unemployment benefits at the state level, extend the additional $600 per month that Congress passed before, have another round of direct payments to help people get by and protect them from being foreclosed upon or evicted. The House did that. Congress has two bodies. We need Senator Rubio and Senator Scott to stop playing politics with this and to come to the table and push to bring this up for a vote so that we can tell Florida families who are struggling that we've got their back, because right now that is absolutely not what they're hearing, unfortunately, from our two senators.
Final 30 seconds, final thoughts about the stark choices we have ahead, the challenges and the choices, economically, financially, at home, and politically.
Yeah, I'll just pick up with the question that you just asked about how things have become so partisan. And I get it. I know that I speak on these issues and some people applaud and some people think everything I say is terrible. I just want to remind people that we're in this together. We have to find ways through this together. It's the only way that we're gonna come out of this stronger. That's what we need to keep in mind. We have to rely on one another, and we have to bear in mind that even with challenges like this, we can overcome them as long as we don't let the divisions become too great.
And coming up, we're talking to one of the candidates running in the upcoming August primary for Congressional District 18. Stay with us.